Good morning, Multnomah Village. What you were just listening to was a famous speech made by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1963. Folks, he made that speech with the hope of one day uniting people outside of color. Folks, sadly, I have to report to you that that still has not happened yet. We are still here, and as representations of your community of color here in your state, in your city, unfortunately, that has not happened yet.
I want to talk about some comments that Kate Brown made, her outgoing comments, which I thought were insulting, quite frankly. And I think it's a big reason why we are really being held back in terms of racial equity folks. Because, and just equity in general. I think when politicians lie, it causes a lot of problems. So I want to read the statement. And this is week 80, by the way, of Justice for Qadira here in the village. So we've been out here.
Without response, folks.
Yeah, without response we'll have been out here. We've been downtown for 2 years. We've entered our third year downtown because I think we've been rallying down there for about it'll be 108 weeks this Friday. But we've been up here for almost 2 years now, too. She said, asked what she saw as her greatest successes, Brown had at the top of her list making Oregon's courts more diverse through her judicial appointments, including in 2018 appointing the first black justice on the state Supreme Court in Oregon history. She also established Oregon's Racial Justice Council to focus on equity in policy making. I am very proud of the work that we have done to truly center the voices of black and brown and indigenous community members in developing the governor's agenda and budget through the Racial Justice Council, Brown said. I think that work is groundbreaking and will have a profound impact on Oregon for hopefully decades to come. Okay, first of all, you guys, I'm sorry to report, but the woman who was appointed, the black woman who was appointed to the Oregon Supreme Court, her name's Adrienne Nelson. She is involved directly in the cover-up of the abuse of our daughter. So I do believe that is why she got the appointment. We have stood before Judge Nelson regarding the abuse of Qadira, and she completely disregarded it.
She rubber-stamped it.
She rubber-stamped it.
She did not acknowledge any of the racial...
She didn't care at all. She ignored the law and threw us out of court. I mean, and that's just wrong. I mean, basically, Judge Nelson, she sold her own down the river. So that's the reality of what happened there. She could have, if she was being intimidated, she could have simply recused herself and said, I'm not going to get involved. But no, she rubber-stamped the abuse of our daughter.
And she toed the party line, folks.
She toed the party line big time.
And so that's one of the reasons why we believe she is sitting on the Oregon Supreme Court right now, because she's willing to just go ahead and do what the racists tell her.
Exactly. And for Governor Brown to say that she's truly centering the voices of black and brown and indigenous community members, this is a complete lie. And you all know it's a lie because you've seen us out here. And we are getting zero response. Unlike Harry and Meghan, we don't even get to tell our story. The media isn't trying to verify any facts. The media isn't trying to look at our documents, which we are now putting out on Twitter. But I want to talk about how dangerous it is when our politicians have an agenda and then they steal money from the public and they lie about it, because they're sitting there telling you they're collecting money essentially, for these racial equity programs. And we've got the same thing going on with homelessness. They're coming to the taxpayer. The taxpayer's putting in all this money. I mean, it's not like that money is not being allocated for these things. But I do believe the money's just straight up being stolen. And people are not being taken care of. Because I can tell you for a fact, she says these things, but me and my husband are still down here on the corner. So that to me says that our governor, and I'm governor has the very same agenda because she is ignoring us, which is completely inappropriate. You don't ignore your citizens. And they are adding to, this racial divide we have in the country, by ignoring us, because they say they're doing these things when in fact they have no intention of doing anything, for these disenfranchised communities. The reality can be seen right here at this rally. Me and my husband are having to fight so hard just to tell our story. I mean, we have been out here for the last, I need to pull up another article about gun violence here in Portland. But we've been out here, we've been fighting for justice for our daughter for the last 16 years. And we've been fighting the government, we've been fighting a major corporation. We've had to raise our kids under the duress of that with no redress for our wrongs. And it just goes on and on and on. Yet we live here in this blue state where all of our representatives essentially say they care about this stuff, but they don't. And it's a real problem for our communities because, people may think they are supporting someone who is, anti-racist and cares about the black and brown community and stuff like that, when in fact, they're not. Because Governor Brown's sitting up there lying through her teeth, and it's wrong. It's just flat out wrong. We need to do something in America about all the lying that our politicians do. They need to be held accountable because it causes great division in the community when you steal to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars for programs that are not even, the money is not going to the people that need it. Okay?
They are not accomplishing what they say their goals are. To me, it doesn't even look like they're trying because they say that these councils have been set up and these programs have been set up, but how are things worse? Things are worse, folks.
Things are, in fact, very, very bad, and which brings me to what is going on here in Portland. I want to read this article because we've had record homicides in the city, and in the black community. The black community is only 6% of the population, but we've experienced, more than half of the homicides. So to have a governor who says, oh, I care about these communities, I'm really trying to help these communities, and then me and my husband are like down here on the corner going, yeah, she's totally lying. All of our representatives are totally lying. We've tried to go to them to get redress. They ignore us. And they ignore us and tell us that our issues don't matter, and for one reason and one reason only, to incite violence. Me and my husband have doubled down on nonviolent protest because the people that we idolize, that is what they've taught us to do. So, I don't know why we're being ignored, not just by the white community, but also by the black community. We're being completely ignored. So
it's probably for money, folks.
It's unfortunate, but I want to read this article because I do want to ask, at some point, are we going to be tired of burying our children? When do we start really trying to sort out what's going on here so we can start putting a stop to this? So I'm going to read the article and then we'll talk more about it because me and my husband want to get more into the details of why we've remained nonviolent for the last 16 years and the benefits of remaining nonviolent for the last 16 years, because I think one of the things we're experiencing is a lot of people say that me and my husband are getting nothing done because we haven't gotten any money or recognition. I'm telling you something, we're getting a lot done. We've maintained our marriage for the last 24 years, almost 25 years. We've raised our children, our 4 children. We've raised our 4 children to not be hateful. You don't see them out in this community trying to harm anybody or do anything to anybody, even though our family has been wronged and wronged and wronged. So at what point do we start highlighting people who have, overcome difficult circumstances without using violence? I don't know why me and my husband are not invited to the table. happened to us. Yes, we have an uncomfortable story to tell, but we didn't do this. You know, the authorities did this. The people in charge did this, and now they don't want to talk about how they tampered with, misused, and abused the law, yet they want to keep pretending that, oh, they're so moral and high on their horse and they're going to fix everything around here. Well, I'm going to get into the article and then we'll continue on. So Damala Baden bolted past dozens of police officers gathered in the hotel hallway and stopped in front of an open door to a third-floor room. Her son had been celebrating a cousin's birthday that Saturday night in late November. Baden had gotten a call about a shooting at the party and raced to the Embassy Suites by Hilton near Portland International Airport. Several people wearing masks had burst into the room and appeared to target her son, according to family and police. Parnell P.J. Baden Jr. was shot multiple times. When his mother looked into the room, all I could see was his legs, she said. I wanted to believe that wasn't him, she said. Her 18-year-old son was one of the 101 people killed in Portland in 2022, making it the deadliest year in the city's history. It surpassed the record of 92 homicides set only the year before. Both 2022 and 2021 far exceeded the previous peak of 70 people who died in homicides in Portland in 1987. The unceasing toll has left a trail of grief, devastating families, and frustrating police and city leaders. Their effort to stem the violence hasn't slowed it, though Mayor Ted Wheeler and the city's new public safety director said they have plans to do more this year. Extra money the city provided last summer for grassroots groups to help interpret the shootings was short-lived. A special police-focused intervention team quickly became overwhelmed, including having 7 of its officers placed on standard leave at different times after they were involved in 1 fatal and 2 non-fatal shootings. At some point, we have to be tired of burying our children, having our children's names turned into hashtags, Damala Baden told the Oregonian. Nobody gets completely tired of it until it happens to their family. As a city, we just sit back and continue to watch this happen, she said. We've let it continue to happen and it's gotten worse. We're reacting instead of preventing. P.J. Baden was among 7 victims, younger than 20 last year. 6 of the 7 were black teens and 6 of the 7 died from gunshot wounds. The youngest victim was 17-year-old LaMarcus Brazil, a junior at David Douglas High School. In 2021, 10 people under 20 were killed in Portland and 6 of them died in shootings. Nationally, gun-related injuries became the leading cause of death for young people from ages 1 to 9 in 2020, fueled by an increase in gun homicides, according to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. While murder counts began to taper off last year in almost 2/3 of the country's major cities that had recorded increases since 2019, Portland bucked the trend. As a community, we have to acknowledge that we have a gang, a houseless, and a gun violence problem that is contributing to the violent crime level in this city, said Sergeant Michelle Hughes, one of the supervisors of the Portland Bureau's Homicide Unit. Other killings stem from slights on social media, drug disputes, robberies, domestic violence, and random violence, according to the investigators. The oldest victim was 82-year-old Donald Pierce, beaten while waiting at a downtown bus stop in an unprovoked attack, police said. More than half of Portland's homicide victims in 2022 were people of color, mostly black men, the same breakdown as the year before. That's far disproportionate to the 6% of Multnomah County's population that identifies as black and 3% who identify as black men. At least 15 people killed were experiencing homelessness, according to an analysis by the Oregonian Oregon Live. The Police Bureau, tracking homelessness-related homicides for the first time, estimated that roughly 1/3 of 2022's killings involved homeless people, both as victims and perpetrators. But police wouldn't identify the specific cases because of ongoing investigations. Many of those killings involved guns, Hughes said. It's a departure from the past when knives and beatings often resolved disputes between those living on the street and guns were treated as a commodity to trade for drugs or other things, she said. It's hard to know why Portland's homicide count has continued to increase while it has dropped in other cities, and if or when the pace of killings will slow, said city officials, police and criminal justice experts. Even in the cities where homicides are falling, the numbers are still significantly higher than before the pandemic, according to Jeff Asher, a crime analyst based in New Orleans and a co-founder of Datalytics, a data consulting firm. It's something that's not fully understood just yet, Asher said. It's usually a complex set of factors that affects various cities. Those include easy access to guns, community distrust of police in wake of the George Floyd murder by Minneapolis police officer, and social isolation and school closures during the pandemic, Asher and other analysts said. We tend to think of murder and gun violence as a hyper-local thing, but a lot of the time it's related to national factors that are much more difficult to understand, Asher said. Okay, I'm going to not read the entire article because it's a little long, I'm realizing. But that's the gist of it. We all know we have a serious gun violence problem in Portland. And one of the things that I find really interesting is my husband and I have been completely shunned by every community simply because of what happened to us. Not that we did it to ourselves, you know, Nike did this, the authorities did this, Todd and Amy did this, but for some reason we are not allowed to even offer our story of how we have maintained our nonviolent means of protest. And me and my husband have worked under very, very difficult circumstances. We don't have a lot of money. After my husband was blacklisted and fired from Nike the same year our daughter was abused, we were pushed down onto welfare. Through that experience, we've been able to climb back up out of that deep, dark hole while trying to fight for our daughter using peaceful means. We tried to use the court system. We also tried to fight Nike using peaceful means. We tried to use our court system. We were actually stripped of our rights to use the court system, therefore peaceful means of redress. We were stripped of that completely by Judge Michael Mossman in the year of 2012. I'll be posting these things to Twitter as we move forward, because that's another interesting thing about our case is it's completely public, because that is how much these people thought me and my husband didn't matter. There is no gag order. So every document we post, it's already a matter of public record because of the way we were handled or mishandled. There's a lot of people in this city who have a lot to answer for, because when you look at Portland, there's an agenda playing out here. Our leaders have a clear agenda, and me and my husband are living proof of that, because our governor sits out there and just lies through her teeth about her work with racial equity and justice, knowing full well this is going on. And there are so many people right now in positions of authority, including our own Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum, who is involved in this cover-up.
Directly, folks.
They chose to do that. We didn't make them do that. What happened is after our daughter was abused and her attorney threw her under the bus, and we ended up having to pay her abusers, and she was thrown out of the hospital, and all these terrible things happened to us, we tried to actually resolve these issues by using our court system. Yes, me and my husband were trying to use it on our own. I didn't know that was a crime.
Well, actually,
we didn't want to burn down anybody's business. We didn't want to destroy our neighborhood. We just wanted to get some redress.
we did get an appellate attorney, though, by the name of Andy Simmerin, who also threw Qadira's case.
Well, that's how Ellen Rosenblum ended up giving Todd and Amy money, too. So there's a lot of people here in the state of Oregon that are playing a lot of games, and they're causing a lot of division amongst the public.
And they're using your systems to do it.
Exactly, and they're using your money to do it. More importantly, it's really distressing to me because I keep seeing all these programs set up for racial equity. We are not allowed to use any of them. We are not allowed to use any of them simply because they are just so committed to this cover-up, so committed to making sure that this never sees the light of day, that even though we have basically a genocide going on in the black community, me and my husband are not even invited to share how we got through this for the last 16 years without turning to violence. We are not even allowed to share that. I don't know if it's because we're just a heterosexual married couple with children and that's not interesting to people anymore. I don't know. Is it because it was Nike that discriminated against us? Is it because,
we're just black people,
we're
and
black people?
black people don't really matter here in Oregon?
We don't really know exactly why this cover-up continues, but it's detrimental to the community. And I have to say, I do believe that people need role models. People need a reason to turn to nonviolence. People need to know that nonviolence does have a lot of benefits. I'm really tired of people saying, oh, you've got nothing out of this, and why do you keep at it, and this and that. Hey, have you been married for 24 years? Have you successfully raised 4 children in the midst of fighting racism and corruption, smack dab in the community that it happened in? Have you had to live down the street from the people that abused your child? These people that abused our child live 2 blocks away. None of my family we have not engaged in violence. We have not taught our children to hate the white community over this. Because I'll tell you what, the black community was plenty black leadership, they were plenty happy to sell us down the river. We've been sold down the river, no joke, by our own people. I'm a graduate of Thomas Jefferson High School. I'm a graduate of Harriet Tubman Middle School. My husband is a graduate of Thomas Jefferson High School. He was also a member of the self-enhancement program over there. So this isn't just about what the white people did to us, because the black people are doing it too. The fact of the matter is people, they climb the ladder, they get to a position where they're just getting all this money flowing to them because they set up all these pretend programs. Oh, we're going to do this nice thing, and we're going to do that nice thing, and they don't do any of it.
Well, it is a very convenient way to keep money flowing into the coffers,
right?
Because all they have to do is create a problem and then tell you, oh, we need such and such resources to fix the problem, and then they never actually have to fix the problem, and they can keep that money coming in, and that's all these people do.
Yeah, and then people get tired of paying for it, and it does lead. It leads to divisions in the black and white community,
and it leads to violence.
Yes, and it leads to divisions in the housed and houseless community. Why? Because everybody actually does care, and they're getting money taken right out of their check. My last paycheck, the government took $1,000, and all I can think to myself is, they just steal from me and I have no rights. I mean, but what am I supposed to do about that? They steal from me, after they've treated me horribly. That is no way for a government to be running. And what's happening, though, is the people here are more interested in fighting each other than righting these wrongs. Because me and my husband, we've been putting this information out here. I mean, I wrote a whole book under duress, on welfare, exhausted, had nowhere to go, wrote this whole book of our entire experience, and it doesn't sell. Nobody reads it. Everybody's watching Harry and Meghan.
Nobody really wants to know just how corrupt our system actually is.
Nobody wants to right these wrongs. And I think another issue is, because Nike involved themselves, and we didn't involve Nike. Nike did that to themselves. I mean, there is so many records of our exchanges with Nike. They literally deposed my husband for 2 days on camera. Y'all have no idea how Nike has been leading this nation around by the nose, because they were a huge supporter of BLM, and we all know that BLM caused a lot of destruction nationally.
And it did not help black people.
No, they had a national campaign with Colin Kaepernick, and it was all a lie. This business about, he was blacklisted from the NFL. My husband was blacklisted from the shoe industry, and he had
by Nike.
After 8 years of good service, not a single bad review, his supervisor tried to sexually assault him on the job, and he said no. You should be able to say no. Okay? Nobody should be touching you at work. Literally, when my husband complained about this at Nike, he just wanted to be moved away from the guy. Okay? They said, no, get back to work with him. Look, that's not going to work out. That was not going to work out. So my husband went back to the EEOC and said, I don't want to work with the guy. And Nike said, you have to. Then my husband went back to the EEOC and he said, he he filed a charge of sexual harassment. Then he filed a charge of sex discrimination because he said if he had been a woman, maybe he would have been treated differently because would Nike really let a guy grab a woman and try to dry hump her on the job? Well, Nike came back and said, no, we would have treated a woman the same way. Then Nike fired him in the middle of an EEOC investigation. The EEOC hadn't even investigated. And my husband filed another charge, and he said, they're firing me in the middle of an open EEOC investigation. The EEOC did nothing this entire time. So my husband got
Just
thrown
let
out
us,
of
folks.
his job, and this was in the midst of when our daughter was all burned up and abused. We have been through some horrible things, and we have never
Here in this
ever
community,
sought
folks,
to tear down this community or turn our hate on white people or blame all white people, okay? Ever. But we should be able to talk about that because we're not trying to create division in this community.
What we want is for this community to be better.
We're very clear when we're out on social media that if people come to these rallies, we do want them to be peaceful. We want them to respect our neighborhood. And guess what? We've made that happen for the last 80 weeks. There's not people up here trying to rip down Multnomah Village.
Although people have offered, folks. Don't think that they haven't.
And we're not interested in that. We're not interested in that. We're very clear about what we're trying to get done here. We cannot have a government. We are all living together. We are all trying to live together in this multicultural society, and we need to at least adhere to the agreements we've made because we're going to have a lot of misunderstandings.
Yes,
you know
right.
what I'm saying? We're going to have a lot of misunderstandings, and that is the way we can deal with our misunderstandings is having, a legal and judicial system.
We don't have a website. We're working on it, though.
We have a
We
Twitter.
have a Facebook.
Yeah, Twitter or Facebook. That's
It's Justice for Qadira.
Yeah.
Qadira.
Thank you.
I hear you guys.
Thank
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
We do appreciate that.
So, I've even offered, I've put it out there to PPS. I've put it out there to the Portland Police. Let us, invite us to the table. Talk to us more about why we have doubled down on peaceful protest. Talk to us about what we've been through. Really try to analyze what went on here so we can start, giving the youth some hope. The fact of the matter is we shouldn't have had to fight this hard. We shouldn't have to be fighting this hard. But this is kind of where we are right now in the country, and we need to talk about that.
And we're not having the real, genuine conversations that we need to be having to be moving our country forward. Not even just our community. Right here, like everything that happened to us happened right here, right in this community. And the fact that everyone has ignored it and tried to pretend like it didn't happen or is not acknowledging it at all is at the crux of our problems with dealing with any of the issues that we face right now.
As a country.
Not just as a country, okay, but as a race of beings. As an entire race of beings, because that's what we are, folks. We're one race of beings, and we're trying to figure it out here on this planet together, because guess what? We don't have anywhere else to go. Okay? We cannot leave this planet.
I mean, you can voluntarily check out if you want to, but I hope you choose to stay and make things better.
But you can't go anywhere and live.
But we cannot keep ignoring this kind of thing. Like I said, people need to know that there's benefits to peaceful protest. I mean, I've even had my own kids say, why do you keep getting out here? No one's ever going to care. No one's ever going to listen. And I have to say
we don't believe that, folks.
No, I don't believe that, and I think we need to be better than that. And I think that the Oregon leadership, and the Democratic Party here really has a lot to answer for, because they're the ones that say they care about this stuff. And And what are you doing? Are you pushing an agenda, or do you care about this stuff?
These people should not be able to openly lie, blatantly lie about caring for these issues and then not be working at all to change them.
Just because it involves a major corporation, you know, we are not here to cancel Nike. We're just telling you what they did, and hopefully by telling you what they did and them finally acknowledging what they did, it will make them a better company. But I want people to think about this. If you have a company who's run by somebody who's so sick in the head that they involve themselves with this, that needs to be sorted out, because Nike employs, you know, I don't know how many people all over the world in their factories, and if they hate those black and brown people and think they are as disposable as our daughter and as disposable as our husband, that's a problem, because that affects our image all over the world. So that's a big problem with America, is our image all over the world is coming apart because of corporate behavior, unfortunately. And I keep saying this about the border. There are so many American companies operating south of the border that could just raise wages just a little bit to maybe $5 an hour, and I swear to God it would stem the flow. If you give people opportunities right where they are, a lot of people will go for that. You might even get people turning around and heading back the other way, and then you wouldn't have this crisis on the border. But see, what's happened is our politicians are in bed with corporate America, and a very few people are living high off the hog in these mansions and just collecting up all this money for themselves while they pretend to care about people. And we need to address that issue, because it's causing the breakdown of our society. Because you have people, taxpayers, paying and paying and paying for these programs that never solve anything. So I can understand why people get frustrated and say they don't want to help anymore. That's a frustrating circumstance.
And I can understand why people are frustrated and decide to use violence.
It's very difficult not to use violence. I want to tell you that. Me and my husband, we have had to fight hard to not be violent. You know what I'm saying? In this circumstance. I mean, we've had our moments, trust me. It has not been easy living down the street from the people that abused our daughter and watching them be protected. Okay? We've had to do that. And watching Nike be protected instead of just held accountable, because that was the right thing to do. Hold them accountable so they can better themselves as a company that represents America. And I think people forget about how corporate America represents America overseas, and they are not giving us, it's not a good look right now. They're underpaying people for no reason, which, like I said, is causing this huge flow of immigration. That's a big problem. You know, it's not as if there aren't businesses operating south of the border. They're paying slave wages right there on the border in the maquiladoras. People are not making enough to live. Not for any reason except for, you know, some corporate master has to live like a god in some castle with surrounded by a bunch of stuff they can't use. So we need to start thinking about this so we can start putting the fabric of our country back together, because we're slowly, you see how more and more we're all starting to live in a hellhole? The wealthy are just going to live in their gated communities. They're not worried about what their poor decisions and their theft is doing to the rest of us. It's not their concern. They have so much money going into the coffers now via the tax system in this country.
Why should they care about the public?
That's right. And they've got accountants that can hide all their money. They don't care.
Why should they care about the common people? Why should they care about you? Why should they care about me?
Right, and then they can paint things any way they want because they have complete control of the media. I mean, I have to tell you, Governor Brown's statement was absolutely jaw-dropping, shocking, insulting to both me and my husband. For her to say that she's centering black and indigenous voices, is she joking? She's not joking. She is joking, but actually. She's sitting there as an entitled white woman in her position of authority, you know, like I said, living off the tit of the taxpayer, and lying through her teeth. And it's not okay. Now, I'm not going to say the Republican Party's any better because crickets, right? I don't hear from them either. I've tried to contact these people.
All these people.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, they're all in bed together. And they're in bed together against regular people.
Right, they're having an orgy with the taxpayers' money. And it's really, really disgusting. So is corporate America. They're just, it has to stop. And, you know, it makes me sick, really, that somebody like Phil Knight would, you know, rise to such fame and get so much, accumulate so much wealth, a corporation like Nike, and then, you know, try to tear down the country that helped them do that. Because, really, what was that Colin Kaepernick campaign about? It was lies. It was all lies. They were literally, while that was going on, they were openly discriminating against my husband. They still are.
And they know that they can do that because they do have the power to suppress all the media around this. That's why you've never heard about it anywhere. Okay, they can shut this thing down wherever it goes. And then they can keep on telling their lies that they're a good company, that they're honest and that they believe in racial justice and all this and environmental justice. That's a lie,
right,
folks.
They invite a few black people, a few people of color to the party, and those black people are willing to sell the rest of the black people and the people of color down the river because they got theirs, and so on and so forth. Because, like I said, both me and my husband grew up in the black community here, and right now I will tell you, they have abandoned us down on the corner just like the white community has. It's almost worse, really, because it's such an insult. And why would the black community, this is what I'm asking, why is the black leadership in this city turning their back on us and literally showing the youth through that action that there is no opportunity for them and that things aren't going to get better? That is what our black leadership is doing. Why? Because they're taking money from Nike?
Probably.
Because they're getting money from our governor and stuff to just keep covering this up? That ain't no better than, you know, the black people that caught their own and sold them, you know, in the Atlantic slave trade. It's terrible. You know, we all need to double down on personal responsibility. Me and my husband know that we are responsible for our actions when we're up here, which is why we might be loud, but we do not ever try to bring violence or incite violence or ruin anything really for anybody. We're just telling you the truth.
Or condone it, folks.
This is our only means to tell this story, which is also sad. That the media would work against us telling our story, because this story could actually help really improve things once people start acknowledging what happened here.
Once they completely understand, okay, what actually happened here. We have some serious problems in the way that we are running our society. Okay, and if we cannot acknowledge them, if we can't talk about them openly, how are we ever going to get better as a community, as a nation, as a people?
And what are we, I've asked this before, I was just saying it, I'm going to say it again. What are we teaching our youth when me and my husband can't get any redress, when we can't get any help, thank you, in the community? What we're doing is week after week, we're teaching our kids that violence is the answer.
That's the only answer.
Don't get the gun, because that's the only way you're ever going to get any redress.
You're not going to get any redress in your court system.
No.
Your court system's completely rigged.
Right.
Nobody's ever going to care about you or you know,
or your issues.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to care what happened to you. Well, you know what? That makes people just want to give up, period. And I do think that's why we're seeing so much violence in the city. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have told us to give up, shut up, go away. Peaceful protest doesn't work. I just had somebody on Twitter. We're started putting the evidence out on our Twitter account. had somebody tell me that free speech doesn't exist in Portland.
Folks, that's a horrible thing to be saying to anyone,
Right.
okay? We need free speech. First of all, it is our right. It is protected by the Constitution. It is the first right protected by our Constitution. And the reason why that is because communication is key to running a civilized society. If we cannot understand each other, of course we are going to be fighting.
And that is the thing about
Of course we are going to be frustrated. Of course we're going to want to hurt each other.
And that's the thing about me and my husband being stripped of our rights in the court system is we were simply trying to get redress. How does it help? I'd like to ask Judge Michael Mossman, facilitator of our community, how it helps to strip somebody of the right to peacefully seek redress. That is he was clearly trying to incite violence in the community. That is actually how you radicalize somebody, okay? By taking away any means for redress. Now, me and my husband, I would say luckily for the other side and very luckily for this community, what a blessing, we do not engage in violence. We were willing to take the slow route. This is the slow route. This is what it takes. We've been basically 16 years in the pen. That's the way I look at it, because every day in our household, we get up and it's all about Qadira being burned. You know, that is what it boils down to. I mean, Qadira, what happened to Qadira, it's even way worse than what happened to my husband. You know, she was an innocent 8-year-old child. This was so unnecessary. And getting down to the bottom of why she was thrown out of a hospital, why the police and DHS weren't called, why there is no investigation to date into any of this, we need to get down to the bottom of that. Because it is not okay for people in positions of authority to just be lying, cheating, stealing, and trying to kill American citizens. You know, and then just covering it up very nonchalantly because they own the media and everything else, and they've got their hand in everybody's pocket. I mean, we're all paying for this shit show, which is another thing that is just infuriating. You know, I also want to talk about the fact that I was contacted by a women's group. They wanted to come speak, but they are now contacted me and told me that they are too afraid, because they're women. They are biological women, and they are too afraid to come speak. So that's sad too.
Folks, what kind of
going backwards and downhill all over the place. That any woman anywhere would feel that way. You know, that they can't even speak. What is this? Are we back in freaking 1900s or something?
I don't know.
It's like we can't even. It's very, 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 very sad what is happening to America. And it's happening because our public officials, our leaders, are not leading us anywhere good.
And they're not being held accountable for it.
They're just doing it on purpose.
We're not holding these people accountable. They're just doing whatever they want. And
bullshit.
Okay. That's why. That's why people think that this is bullshit.
Yeah.
What we're talking about.
And it's easy
that's not helpful, folks. We're not here for no reason. Okay, we experienced something absolutely horrible that anybody would be horrified to have experienced, okay? And the fact that we are getting out here and trying to connect with people,
we are
so that we trying to fix our society. It's not. There's a reason why our society is in decline. It's because we are refusing to deal with our actual problems.
Yeah, and also I think, like I said, it has to do with role models. You know, I look at my husband through all of this, and myself. We've both worked very hard, 40, 50 hours a week. He's a carpenter now. I'm a caregiver. When we went down onto, when Nike blacklisted him and our daughter was abused, man, we had to take care of our daughter. We had to take care of our kids. My husband had to buckle down and work all the time. We do that now. We're both working heavy work weeks. My husband was at work till, we were both at work last night till 10:30. Okay? We financed this all on our own. We get out here. We are fighting for our country. This racism. This is what it looks like, okay? And we have to find a way to move forward together because we are all here together. And it starts when we start holding the people in charge accountable for their lives. I'm sorry that these people got involved with burning up my daughter. I wish to God she had been treated because she has medical problems. She will have medical problems for the rest of her life. And we are incredibly blessed by Jesus, by God, by the universe that she survived. My God, she could have died in her bed. The irresponsibility of their actions in this case is so beyond the pale. We were young parents when Qadira was abused. We had a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old. When Nike blacklisted my husband, we had an injured, abused child, and we barely were managing to get through any of this. If you read my book, the things we endured, and we didn't turn to violence, and there's no story there. Come on. Most people would have picked up a gun, strapped on a bomb. They would have completely freaked out by now. But we get out here week after week, dedicated to our country, our community, and our world.
And the reason why we're not violent is because we know we have jobs.
I have a job,
Thank you, sir.
baby. I have a job. I have a house.
Can you
raised my kids.
excuse me,
did
sir?
all
Can you
those
tell
things.
us
I did all those
why are you so hateful?
Yeah,
Why are you so hateful? Maybe you want to come on the mic.
Yeah, it's not enough.
Maybe you want to come on the mic.
Maybe you want to come on the mic, sir,
Yeah.
and then tell us why you are so hateful.
It's funny to me when people tell us to get a job. We have a job. We have jobs. We have a home. We raised our 4 kids in this community. Kids went to Robert Gray, Ida B. Wells, Mount Tabor, Benson. We've been all through this community. And our entire family has remained peaceful in the face of all of this. And we've been out here. We're not rejecting our community, but to drive by here and tell us to get a job, we're doing all of that. We do all of that. We've taken care of business. When people say, what have me and my husband done to take responsibility? Well, who changed Qadira's bandages? We did. Who raised our 4 kids? We did. You know, when my husband got blacklisted from Nike, did we just sit there on welfare for the rest of our lives? No. He worked hard to become a carpenter. I've been out there working in the caregiving industry since this happened. You know, we put nose to grindstone. We've worked hard. It's not enough. And that is what I'm talking about when you're talking about the violence in the black community, especially here. If a man like my husband and a woman like myself, 2 black people from the black community, if we can't get any accolades for busting our ass and remaining nonviolent for the last 16 years, you almost have to ask yourself what the point is. And I get why people are turning to violence. They think we're the dumb ones. Well, why would you sit there in that white community and still try to change things? Because not everybody here is guilty, right? Not all of you did this. And I'm sorry, the silence isn't, like I said, it's not just coming from the white community, it's coming from the black community too.
But,
you know, I mean, I guess it's just become real lucrative to sell us down the river. But maybe that's a poor choice. Maybe it's time for Portland and for Oregon to switch their strategy of ignoring this thing and start paying attention to it.
And probably take some responsibility for it, folks. See, one of the reasons why my wife and I have been able to remain peaceful, okay, and we've been able to reject violence or embracing it is because we know what's important. And that's one of the reasons why we wear these shirts that say, I am the value. We know what's valuable. And it's not money, folks. We know it's people. We know it's you.
You don't know.
Yeah, let's get this guy. Come on the mic and tell us why you are so hateful, sir.
Get out your
Is it racism?
Is it racism?
Is it racism? Why don't you come back here instead of driving
You know
by
what?
like a coward? Why don't you come back here and get on the mic and tell us exactly what it is that you are so upset with us about?
You know what, honey?
Because we can We can tell you, and we've been telling this community why we were upset and why we've been here for the last 80 weeks.
Here. You know
I'm
what?
getting sick and
You-
tired
wait,
of
wait.
people
Do you
coming by and being cowards and not telling us why they don't like us so much.
Here's the thing. I have to say, though, this guy, he really is having a racist moment because he keeps telling us to get a job. And I keep telling him, I have a job. My husband has a job. We're homeowners. We're both working like 40, 50 hours a week. Plus, we fit in this social justice that we are doing. We fit in a lot into the last 16 years. I know none of you have been out there trying to represent yourself against a major corporation, fight the government, raise 4 children, stay married. Nobody stays married anymore, FYI.
Yeah, marriage is just a
that's
joke
an accomplishment in and of itself. Me and my husband got 24 and a half years under our belt, okay?
And still going strong,
We've been together
folks.
since high school, and we are still going strong despite what we've experienced. I see people, they have no commitment to anything anymore. This is how we were able to commit to this protest and commit to fighting for our daughter. It's because we are committed people. Okay? Something that this country's completely gotten away from. I guess marriage and committing to a person and,
Or just committing to anything.
Right.
Is
committing to any values, whatever. We just don't do that anymore.
That's not
It's a free-for-all.
beneficial for anyone anymore. I don't know why.
I don't know, people like to go join the naked bike ride and take their kid to the drag queen club and whatever. I don't get it. But when 2 upstanding community members come out and try to talk about what happened to them, they get, told to shut up and go away and ignored. And that right there is everything wrong in our society because, okay, you don't want the kids to see us as role models. You don't want the kids to have a good family as a role model. That's not something we want anymore. Oh, no. We wouldn't want people actually getting married and having kids and, committing to anything. That wouldn't be a good direction for the country, apparently. No, it's better that everybody, we build bronze statues of George Floyd, who, I'm sorry, was a drug addict who didn't take care of his kids, which is why he ended up in the position he was in the first place, which is very sad and a whole nother topic, because it's not as if I do not have compassion for that story, simply because I see how hard my husband as a black man has had to work to get anything done. And it's not right. It's not right. And I understand why many people just give up. Some people give up before they even get started.
Because it's hard. Folks,
It's
we've
hard.
made it way too hard here to just even live. To just even live. That's what we should be doing. That's what we should be focused on. It's just making sure that everybody can live. Why can't we focus on people having good lives? But that's not what we're doing here. We're just focusing on getting over on each other. That's all we care about.
Right.
That's all we care about. Everybody just cares about the money. People don't care about people anymore.
It's astonishing
And
to me.
when did we lose our value? Okay? When did people lose their value? Why is it not okay to support people on this planet?
Yeah,
why have we made that like a big deal? Like people are actually
disposable. That's
we have
turn
turned
people into disposable trash.
actual living garbage.
Right.
How? Why?
Now that garbage is just laying all over the streets and people are complaining about the people when the fact of the matter is most people are frustrated into these situations. I mean, I can tell you over the years the amount of sheer will we have had to use to just keep our little house and our kids together and our family together. It has been tremendous. And I don't blame people when they're falling off the wagon.
When they
Drug
wanna
abuse,
give up, folks.
suicide, gun violence. I get it because I have felt all of that. I felt all those pressures. I just stopped drinking a year ago, a little over a year ago.
And lots of people, they're doing this alone. At least my wife and I, we're a team.
We have each other.
We work together. Okay, we have our family. We have our kids. We are a team. We're very much a team. It has taken everybody's effort in our family to stay above water,
Our
to stay
entire
afloat.
household.
But the majority of people They're doing it alone. They have no support whatsoever. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Like I said, we need to find a way to make people matter here in our society
and
again.
We can't keep putting out sound bites like Governor Brown did. What an insulting thing for her to say that she is centered on raising black and indigenous voices. What a
That's
liar.
so disingenuous.
What a freaking liar.
That's so
it just makes me so sick to my stomach.
And
Why
there's
doesn't she
nobody
stand
out in the
by those
media
words?
that is calling her out on her garbage.
No, nobody will even question her. Nobody will question Jeff Merkley. Nobody will question Ron Wyden. I've written all these people. We stand in the middle of downtown. We've been standing in the middle of downtown for 2 years talking about this, and we are ignored. So don't tell me you're building some utopia here in Portland where you care about people, especially the black people. That's just a lie, which is why you are seeing violence in that community that is off the charts.
But
because people are lying and being disingenuous and stealing from the community, which, like I said, is creating animosity because nobody ever sees improvement with these problems. With the homelessness, with the violence in the black community.
Because it's just too easy, folks, to steal the money. It's too easy to steal the money.
They take it right out of your check. I mean, I'm paying for this nonsense. I'm a citizen that has been stripped of my rights, me and my husband, and we still got to pay our taxes and abide by all the laws because they'll still come get us, right?
Even though these people don't have to.
Even though they don't have to do any of it. So we got to start working really hard and asking the right questions. I mean, I would put out there to left and right, stop fighting each other and start pushing back on the system, holding these people accountable. This isn't about canceling the system. Again, this isn't about canceling Nike. This is about how do we improve and how did we get here? You know, you have to acknowledge what happened to make improvements. But the silence regarding this protest needs to stop because that's the responsible thing to do. And I'm calling on our public officials. I'm calling on the Portland Police and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'm calling on you guys to stop the cover-up.
We're calling on the media.
It's not helping, and the media. It's not helping the community, okay? Stop selling, especially the black community down the river, when you know that we have emerged as true leaders in our community. Yet you don't want to
you don't want to acknowledge it.
our
And
existence.
maybe you don't want to acknowledge it because you know that our conversation leads to possibly you losing your authority. But hey, you know you did the crime.
Do the time.
You might have to do the crime.
Show people how the system works here in America. Show them that, yes, you might have to get out there and protest for 16 years, but there is a system available that will eventually bring you redress. That is what we are going to have to start showing our community members if we want them to turn to peace instead of violence. Okay? We have to show them that peaceful protest works.
That peaceful means for any redress is better than resorting to violence.
Yes, and judges should be held accountable when they tamper with and obstruct justice. Okay? That is a form of insurrection. And doing that to the wrong people who have a violent mindset can cause a lot of problems. Me and my husband could be out trying to incite violence. We're just not interested in that. We know that that doesn't go anywhere. And we know that
that's not helpful, folks.
We know that that road doesn't lead anywhere.
That is not a productive way forward for anyone.
No, and we appreciate...
Under any circumstance.
We appreciate and honor the struggle of our nonviolent leaders. That is where we are coming from here. But we've taken a page out of their playbook and it is being ignored. That is not okay. You know, Monday we will be observing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Let's not disrespect this man's memory anymore. I know there's all these things being set up here in Portland to celebrate this man. Celebrate this man by acknowledging what's going on here. That would be my first request.
Folks, we're going to get out of here, but we're going to leave you with this because we always do. Folks, our affirmation is simple. And we hope at some point you do join in with us because it's important for you. And we believe that it's as important for you as it has been for us. And here's how it goes, folks. I am the value.
I am the value.
You are the value.
You are the value.
We are the value.
We are the value.
I am the value. You are the value. We are the value. I am the value. You are the value. We are the value. I am the value. You are the value. We are the value.
Folks, take back your value so you can actually start addressing these issues, so we can start fixing our community, please.
Thank you, Multnomah Village.
Thank you, Multnomah Village. We'll see you next week for week 81.